coaching in the NIL era now. How's that changed your? Maybe you're not recruiting football quarterbacks that are making millions, but is that changing the recruiting and the recruiting business?
I want to figure out that space and continue to move with that space and build relationships there, but while still keeping the main things. At the end of the day, when you're 8K deep into the 10K at the cross country national championships, your NIL deal is not going to save you at all. It's still, I want people to come here who really want to build their craft and grow and be a part of a team. And I think those are great ways to maybe at the end of your time give you chances for financial incentives. We've had, our collective of professional athletes right now that are alumni at NAU is a really special one, and it's happening each year. And so I think this is I just want people at NAU that they're not going to come here because they get more money or it's about the NIL deal or whatever. I hope those things happen for people, but I still want the motive and the recruiting to be centered around
coffee club, grind your beans and grab your favorite mug. It's Ollie, Morgan, George, and Gus. It's them boys from Coffee Club. Boys from Coffee Club.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Coffee Club podcast. This is episode 155, I believe. I'm your host, George, solo hosting today with Morgan, obviously, on the other side of the world still, and lacking a bit of Wi-Fi. So that just leaves me in charge this week. And I've got a guest I'm really excited to have on the podcast this week, and hopefully it's going to be an enjoyable episode for you guys. We've got Coach Jarred Cornfield on the pod today. How you doing, Coach?
Beamish, I'm good. I'm really good. How's Boulder out there?
Yeah, it's actually nice. It's a nice time of year here. I think similar to Flag, kind of those fall days. Nice cool mornings, but heating up during the day. I think actually beautiful time of year. Time of year I miss in Flag actually. Cross country season is in the swing of it. That's what I want to start with actually. I feel like I'm so out of the loop with cross country this year. Like the professional track season just finished, and somehow it's like Nuttycombe has already happened. I'm like, where did that come from? But I saw you guys didn't go to Nuttycombe this year. I assume to go to Pre-Nats, which is also in Wisconsin. So what's the NCAA update? What's happening in NAU these days?
Yeah, no, it's a weird year with Nuttycombe being in September. I remember this back in 2018 when you were on the team, and we did go to Nuttycombe, and then we went to
Wisconsin 3 times.
Madison became home after a while, but no, this year, we decided to not do both. We just didn't want to quite go out there that much, and we ended up going to just a meet down in Tucson this weekend, and we actually brought our whole team. So even if they didn't race, they worked out, and we did a really fun team activity. We rented this Airbnb down in Scottsdale on Saturday night, and so we had this ridiculous pool party, and the property had this mini golf course and bocce ball, and it had a full tennis court. It was super fun. So we felt like that was maybe a better use of our time than flying out to Madison twice.
Okay, that sounds like so much fun. What the heck? How hot was the race in Tucson this time of year?
Gosh,
was it 7 a.m.?
They were early, 7 a.m. men's start, 7:35 women's start, because the high was 106. It was like a heat wave, even for Tucson at this time of year. It was 115 in Phoenix, and so it wasn't too bad for the races. 7 a.m. we were able to. It was totally fine. Warm for us, but it was manageable.
Yeah, I'm kind of on some. When I saw you guys weren't going to Nutty, I was like, all right, I support this decision actually. Just a small Arizona meet to get the year started, and then Pre-Nats coming up. What are you most excited for NAU's season this year? Obviously, the men are down on ranking at least for the first time in quite a few years, but the women are right up the top. What's everyone excited about this year?
Yeah, it's you definitely remember probably experiencing this even with really good consistent teams there. Every year is a new year. It's still a different group of people. There's a lot of the same guys, but you always have it's a different group. And so this year is maybe a little bit more of a different group than in previous years, just with losing as many people as we did, particularly on the men's side. But it's what I've been really excited about for this year for the men. I'll start with them is this opportunity for guys to move into like kind of these different positions and new roles that maybe they haven't been in because of, you had Nico and Drew and Brody Hasty, and you just had some of these guys filling these roles for so long. And so to just see some guys operate and find out more about themselves in these roles and be more relied on is definitely something I'm really enjoying about this group. And then the women's side is just exciting. They're operating at a really high level. It's as it's taken our women's program some time to grow. We weren't very good when you first got here, and so just to see that program like be consistent and operate at the top level of the NCAA. They're going to be exciting and they're going to be good, and they're really healthy. And so, just excited to see them keep chipping away and see if we can improve upon just the way we executed in championship races last year. And they're an awesome group. It's going to be a fun year for NAU distance, I think.
NCAA cross is so freaking sweet. But I just realized maybe I should have done a bit more of an introduction in case everyone else doesn't know who you are as much. But Cornfield and I met in 2015. We both started at NAU at the same time, which is pretty crazy. So we've known each other for we're coming up on 10. I guess we're just hit 9 years since we met.
This is my 10th year at NAU.
Yeah, that's what's crazy. The journey from grad assistant to assistant coach to associate head coach to announced recently future next year director of NAU. Does it feel any different this year, or is it like nothing's actually going to change till next year? Is that like weird coming in?
It's it was not in the plans, right? A lot went down this summer, but it does actually feel different this year. I think there's always things within a year that are going to fall into like the future, and so there's certainly ways that I'm already kind of in a director role while Mike is still completely 100% the director for this year. So it's definitely different even than from just being like an associate head coach last year with some of my responsibilities and different ways that I'm involved in the program now, being named the director for next year. So it's been a crazy whirlwind for sure. And but no, it's been all good stuff, and I'm thrilled that I get another year with Mike, and wouldn't have asked for a better way to transition if this was going to be the way that we transition something. So it's actually been like super fun, and no complaints so far.
Yeah, man, I'm shit, man. I probably haven't even I'm so happy to have heard that announcement, and couldn't think of a better person to take over from Smith next year. But like, how do you describe that progression to people starting, like, was it your first year out of college as a GA, like in 2015 to the director in 10 years? Like that, I mean, that's a grind. Like that is a grind, but like, how do you describe that progression to people?
It wasn't like what I set out to do, right? Like, hey, I've got this 10-year plan at NAU. This is how I'm going to execute it.
Well, because I know that there were definitely times when you were on the verge of like taking a position somewhere else, or like, moving on at some points, but then, instead, like, it was just like that linear progression in some way. Is that right?
Yeah, it's, obviously as a graduate assistant, that's a 2-year program, right? So I was supposed to be at NAU for 2 years. That's it. And it would have been your freshman and sophomore years. And so you come and you work and you get a graduate degree and you work as a coach, and I was hired by Eric Hines, not Mike. And so I didn't, none of us knew that Coach Hines would leave after, that year and a half that we were there, and then Mike coming over. And so all that was completely unexpected. And so, I didn't know that there'd be this new coach and we'd really connect in that 2016, 2017 year. And he, fought really hard for me to really fought hard to create like a position here for me, which I'm so grateful for. And I never thought that this progression would be this way. I definitely in my mind knew that like, hey, one day I'd love to be a director. It was probably more like, hey, that's probably like a 15, 20 year plan. Like it's not common to do that super quickly. And so I was just like, hey, how can I like learn and figure out this craft the best I can, and just like figure out how to do every single aspect of a program. And so I was like, looking back, I'm like so grateful I like got to just like grind as a GA and then just got to grind as a young assistant and then got to have some more responsibility as an associate head coach. And then, again, didn't think that this director opportunity would come this soon, but I think I'm more prepared for that step because I've like been in all the different positions you could be at in this program. So the grind is worth it, but the grind's a teacher, and I think it's helped me prepare for each thing. And even though I didn't know it would happen this way.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks so glamorous on paper, like GA, assistant, associate, head coach of this great team. Like people are looking at that like, oh, college coaching, that must be a sweet gig. But like, I know, and a lot of people who have seen college coaches know that there are some seriously unglamorous parts of coaching, like ridiculous late night driving back to Flag, or like being in the depth of the Midwest in the winter, or like, just so many times in college coaching where you're working ridiculous hours and weekends and all sorts of stuff. But is that like, what advice would you give to some, like a young coach that wants to get to, I don't know, a 10-year progression like that? Maybe it's not going to look just like yours, but someone that wants to go from a GA position and it looks like the director is so far away.
Yeah, I think you gotta, like, I remember when I was in college, you start thinking about after college when you become, you get in the real world. And, one of the things I was thinking about was, hey, I really want to spend my time in a vocation, like doing something I really enjoy. Like it's going to take up a lot of my days. And so that time I spent, I was like, I really want it to be like, I'm valuing my time spent, even when it's in the grind, or even when you're young and you're going to work hard. And so, I was really thinking, and one of my criteria is like, I want to work in an industry or a vocation that like is about, or has a structure for like building close relationships with people, because there's some vocations that don't require that. And so that was a parameter of mine that I think, it was really important to me. And so I thought about coaching. And so I was like, hey, this is cool. Like I can try to find an opportunity, and I was really very fortunate to get this at NAU, so I was like, cool, 2 years. It doesn't, I don't have to tie my whole life to this. But it just gives me an opportunity to see, hey, do I actually like doing this? Is this type of hard work like what I want to like pursue long-term? And it just ended up being that for me. I loved it. I love getting to work with you all, and the most fun stuff is like, the time we get to spend together, and when you get to go to the ridiculous Scottsdale mansion, Airbnb, or these trips, or probably the stuff you probably talk about when you reminisce about NAUs, all that stuff, which is the fun stuff to think about. But it makes the work I see is just an extension of that. It's not just like, oh, I have to do that in order to get to this. It's like, no, the work actually is a big part in creating all this, and so it's all tied. And so I see the value in the late night drives up the mountain from Phoenix. When you're really tired, it's like, hey, this is important in how you're helping the program run as a whole. And you just got to really like it. I think you got to really like it. And if you want to explore it, just like you can do that with you don't have to do it for 10 years. You can do it for a couple of years and just see if that's what you want. And then you got to really want it, because it is a grind. You don't get paid a lot, and it's crazy hours, and it's weird. And you got to work with you got to work with young people who are all over the place sometimes. But I think if you like working with people, if you like helping young people grow, and then you love the sport and you love to work hard, those are probably good things that make this job a good fit for you.
I feel like I already know the answer to this, and maybe you've kind of already just explained it, but do you think it is more than just a job to you? And do you think that's pretty important, that it is more than just a job? Like it's a vocation, and it's something you have to be really passionate about.
Yeah,
to be really good.
It's It's more than a job to me because of the relationship with people, because of that like intimate setting that you actually get to go like really deep with people with something they truly care about, where you get to see them in these like really low moments and really high moments, like I look at this, for the YouTube viewers, right? You see this moment, which was a really fun moment for all of us. Like, that was a really high moment for you and for us. And I remember that and I'll never forget it. But like, man, you remember all the low moments too? Like, cause I do. And people don't get to see all that, but that's what makes it even better that like, we have a great relationship, right? Me and you. And, when you look at the scope of all the things that go into that, it's not just like, it's not this really linear path or anything. It's just like the sum of all that makes it really special. And so when in this coaching setting, you get to do that with so many people. And I think at a really pivotal time in their life, call it 18 to 22 years old. I didn't know anything when I was 18 years old. So I would have loved to have maybe more guidance or a relationship with someone who is a little bit older than me that could tell me to do certain things the right way. And so that's the part that really means it. And then we get to do that like with running around in circles and competing against people. And it's like super fun. And you get to really go all in on this like really unique craft of distance running, which is challenging and real and forces you to grow. And so, yeah, it's much more than just a job. I feel very fortunate. Like, hey, I can have a family that I can support. That part of my life is the most important part. But then I also get to do that within the scope of, track and field and cross country in the NCAA. Like it's the best.
Yeah. I mean, I think, like you said, like I feel really fortunate to have had this relationship with you from as a freshman through 5 years of college, and now we still keep in touch, and we were chatting the day, maybe 2 days before like I was at the Olympics this year. Like we were just still having a good chat, and I feel like you've kind of been that mentor, like a type of mentor to me through college and still in some ways. And that's a good point. Well, like what was freshman George like?
No,
2015 George.
Man, freshman George. I feel like freshman George was. You had your head on a swivel, like you were really trying to you were trying to suss out this place and your role in this, and you were young and I think had some insecurities with your running and your kind of role with the team. And it was also a weird year. Like we had 1 million guys on the team and yeah, you were one of like 14 freshman guys or something. I came in, I was like, what is going on here? And, yeah. And then, you struggled with injury that freshman year. So my memory of that year for you is just like, it's just like young person that probably doesn't know a lot and trying to figure things out and maybe a little bit lost. And then, it was so gratifying as you're just like discovering a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And so the growth from freshman year to your final year was awesome. Like you're a grown up George by the end.
Have I met or exceeded or lower running expectations since freshman year? Like, you think I was going to the Olympics? You think I was going to be world champ? Or maybe don't think about that. The freshman college athletes probably
not too much. Like I try not to think too much about like the future, like what's going to happen, like in terms of the outcomes. But I think more about just like people taking the next logical steps, and you started doing that. Like I definitely saw, like, I feel like even when you were young, your ceiling to me was really high, like what was possible. But man, there's so many things that have to like match up and to maybe see those possibilities. Right. And that comes from like your desire and your passion, what you want to do, which is the most important thing. And then, people's bodies are just not fair, like in how they, there's a million things. But I remember thinking like, hey, this guy's ceiling's really, really high. And none of us, like, I wasn't surprised when, you won that race that really kind of put you on the map. It was a rocky road to get there. But no, I don't know. Like you can't, to me, you never say like, oh, this person, I think you're somebody that said, hey, he could win a world championship indoors or like could make the Olympics. And I think that's realistic or possible. But man, it's so hard to actually do.
Yeah.
And so, no, I wasn't surprised when you actually did it. I was, I remember that was I was screaming at the TV at you and Hobbs, and that was really fun to see. And then, it always, like, obviously, like your experience of this Paris Olympics was challenging, and we were, we spent some time together there, and this sport is not, it's not fair sometimes, but what you're doing right now is really special, and I can't wait to see what you do next and what's possible. And again, you got to be there when you're like at your lows at the Olympic Games when you're hurt, and you got to be there when you win the World Championships. Like, got to realize like these are just human beings and they're going through life, and that's like my goal as a coach is like to be there for all the moments.
Yeah, it's crazy how similar that race behind you and World Indoors was actually in a lot of ways.
Yeah. That was like what you guys run, like 4:09. I mean, you went on like 2:12. That was a fun race.
I think 4:07. Yeah, it was almost PR at the time because I'd only run in flag. But anyway, yeah. I mean, back to coaching. Like, obviously, this time next year, you'll be coaching the full men's and full women's team, correct? As director.
That's correct. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How would you? How would you describe your coaching? What will be your coaching philosophy and like, your vision for the team that, you're going to be taking over?
Yeah, I've gotten that question some for sure. So it's something I've thought about, and I've only had a couple months now of knowing I'm going to be the director next year, and so this is all pretty new to me and visualizing myself as the director here at NAU. I'm totally not like afraid to say that like so much of who I am as a coach and how I've been influenced is from Mike Smith. Like he's been my mentor, my guide. Like he's been there like every step of the way for me. And not only that, like he's really poured so much into me in helping me like progress as a coach and to one day be equipped to be a good director. And so like I attribute so much to his teaching and guidance for me, and so like I'm very, very heavily influenced by him, and I'm not like I don't want to come into this role next year and just be like I got to do my own thing and it's going to be really different than Mike. Like, no, we built this thing together. Like we've been we've really like we've evolved together. We've changed together. We've done so much, and me, especially as a young coach, has learned a lot along that way. And so, I have probably very similar. Yeah, it's going to be very similar to the way it's always been at NAU. My philosophies really align greatly with his as well. And so, this very like team centric idea of creating a team, of finding people who also like want to be all in with this and dive deep into see what's possible. But then that within the scope of like team and building connection and being a great teammate and wanting and being very interested in learning how to do that. And not just being like, hey, I want to get what I want as an individual. And if what happens on the team is like a bonus, like that's not what I want. Like it has to be the other way around, like team first. And I think you get everything you want as an individual with much greater probability that way anyway. And so, the NAU that you experienced, from 2015 to 2019 is probably going to look very, very similar to how it goes under Coach Cornfield. And so, I'm not coming in here and trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm very much have been and appreciate how I've been guided and taught by Mike. And so we really align in so much of how we do things. And so you're not going to actually see a big change. And I'm really secure and confident in that, and don't want to just be like, oh, I've got to make a big splash for me. No, it's NAU is already really good right now. And I just want to continue and still evolve, but continue the path that we've been on.
Yeah. And I mean, I think you hit on a good point there with, with Smith going out and kind of the reputation he's built, not even at NAU, but also just in the running world and the coaching world. And we're in a sport where where comparison is unfortunately very easy to make, but because we have times and places and all these things that are like so easy to line up on each other. And like, I'm sure you already know that there's going to be like, the media is going to love to compare a Smith director to the next director. Like, how are you think that's going to be a challenge, and kind of what's your approach to taking over from, probably there are some big footsteps to fill.
Yeah. No, that's something I know that will be present, right? Like, who knows what the coffee podcast will be chatting about with NAU next year and the years after, like the media, right? You guys are the media now. No, but it's definitely, it's a thing. And you have to, something we always say here is like, hey, if we're just with our team, we say the people in this room are the people that matter, and yes, the noise is always going to be there, and I see it and hear it. Sometimes I try to block it out, or just try not to hear it or see it, but you're always going to hear it and see it to some extent. And I think being really secure in who you are as just a person in general is really important, and the value that you place on what you're doing and who you are in your life. I find a lot of that I find really all of that identity and security first in my faith, and then also in like what I do. I'm just like confident in how I learn, and it's okay to make mistakes, and you just like, it's more like the process of how you are just want to continue evolving as a person. Really confident in that. So I hope I keep changing, but I think I've set myself up for that, and being okay with that, and knowing that that's really positive. But yeah, and then what other people think, it's like, hey, people are allowed to have their opinions, and it's part of their, some people's jobs, and that's like, I'm not saying those are bad things. It's more just like how I view it, and that's the important thing, and how we as a team view it. And so it's definitely something we have to talk about a lot at NAU, because we do have eyes on us, and people talk about us, and that comes with success, and that's all good. But it's more important. Like, I think about the people that I always envision this like round table, and it's like my table, and I choose who sits there, and I care about those people's opinions, and try to block out everybody else's. And so try to remind myself of that a lot, even when there's noise, and probably will be, in the years to come. But I'm going to keep that circle tight, and those people I trust and love, and I'll care about what they say, and not about what anybody else says.
I like that. That was well put. And I mean, like you said, taking over from Smith was a decision to stay in Flag and where you've always been, which obviously shows that, Flagstaff and NAU are extremely important to you. And, maybe there was, who knows what else was out there for you, or what else, what you could have done, but staying in Flag for 10 years, and like, how did you know that? At what point did you know that NAU was this? That was the place where you wanted to coach. Maybe for I don't know how long you'd be there. Maybe forever. Maybe for a few. Yeah. Like, how'd you know that was the place where you wanted to be? Like, what's so special about it?
Yeah, it's been fascinating, because, I've been here for 10 years, which is a long time, but I've always been here. I've always wanted to be, a head coach and a director at some point. I wasn't in a rush to do that. I was very patient. I've said no to different opportunities before in the past. And so I was waiting patiently for that to come. But if that was to come at a different place that really made sense for me and my family, that was probably going to say yes to an opportunity eventually. And so, and I didn't know, it's not like this thing with Mike's has been in the works for years, and this has been a plan. This is something that kind of suddenly came upon him, and he made a decision for him and his family. And so then that opportunity came to me. And so I never sat here and picture being in Flagstaff for forever, or for a really long term. And so, I kind of had to do that kind of quickly this summer. Me and my wife had to really sit down and talk about our family and just life for a pretty long period of time, we hope. And the relationship I've had with this place and these people has definitely evolved as a story for us over the last 10 years. And when I had an opportunity to continue that story, my heart was just really full, it was that's something I'm really drawn to because of my experience and my relationship with this place in these last 10 years. But to have the opportunity to lead in this way and to continue in that relationship, I was I was so happy. I was so happy. And bummed not to continue working with Mike. Our relationship is so special. I'm really enjoying this last year with him in this capacity. I'm so happy that he's staying in Flagstaff. And so our friendship will really get to continue and grow. But there was just too many benefits for me and my family, and how we love this place and these people that I don't know what else I would have said yes to over this. And so it's an amazing place, and my heart is really tied to this place now. And so I just feel a lot of gratitude that I get to kind of continue that, because there would have been a point where I would have had to, say goodbye to this chapter to pursue, that part of my career. And I'm glad that they both aligned up in the same places. So, hard to beat this place. And like you said, I don't know if I'll ever leave. It's hard. I don't know what else could be better than this.
Place to leave.
It's so hard. Yeah. It's so special. And so, I don't know how long I'll be here, but hopefully a really long time.
Yeah. I hope so too. I mean, that's one other thing that's changed in coaching more recently. And as someone who's in the recruiting business, I know you're coaching in the NIL era now. How's that changed your? Maybe you're not recruiting football quarterbacks that are making millions, but is that changing the recruiting and the recruiting business?
In some ways, I mean, as the coffee club NIL fund started to get there yet. I mean, I would love to tap into that if you guys are interested in partnering. I'll pencil that in. Yeah, tell. Is it Gus? He's the one that makes those decisions.
Oh yeah. We got something in the works there.
Good. No, it is interesting. It definitely affects football and basketball to the highest extreme for sure in the NCAA right now, and it's certainly affecting our sport in track and field and cross country more and more. I think it's important to continue to evolve and grow with the NCAA, and some of the changes are positive and some of the changes are really challenging. But either way, you have to deal with the changes as they are and not just sit back and wait. NAUs are really niche and particular place in that we've had a very successful distance program here and a really successful track program, but definitely on a national level, pretty consistent track success, particularly in this Mike Smith era. And I think it's one of the best places to train on planet Earth. And then, you have these special resources and really good people, I think, working within this program itself. So I think NAU is a really attractive place for young athletes to come. And so I always want to be on the lookout for how to make things affordable and a really great situation, or take care of you from a financial side, which is where the NIL comes in. It's about finances. And so, but I want to figure out that space and continue to move with that space and build relationships there, but while still keeping the main things. At the end of the day, when you're 8K deep into the 10K at the cross country national championships, your NIL deal is not going to save you at all. It's still, I want people to come here who really want to build their craft and grow and be a part of a team. And I think those are great ways to maybe at the end of your time give you chances for financial incentives. We've had, our collective of professional athletes right now that are alumni at NAU is a really special one, and it's happening each year. And so I think this is I just want people at NAU that they're not going to come here because they get more money or it's about the NIL deal or whatever. I hope those things happen for people, but I still want the motive and the recruiting to be centered around hey, why you're choosing to come to this place. And I think we'll find the right people that way. And ultimately, guess what? Those people end up getting great NIL deals and, getting great opportunities, but it's still got to be about the real stuff. And that's the racing and you can't hide out in the racing.
Yeah. That's very true. I remember those last couple of Ks in a 10K. Not looking forward to, not planning on doing that anytime soon.
Yeah. Well, what gets you through that is like your team and the way you're framing things and just like how you're taught and the tools that you're given as an athlete. And I use you as an example all the time of this guy that, you won the mile indoors, but you helped your team on 4 occasions in cross country, and and 3 of those occasions being scorers, in All American, in the 30s. Like that's a massive contribution to a team, and it would have been easy just to hide out maybe on the track for you. And I'm curious, and maybe this is a question for you. I'm going to turn this interview around, but how has some of those things like helped you in this transition to the professional scene and the toughness and the perspective and the way that you approached races in NCAA cross country, which was maybe not the easiest for you?
That 2019 10K was, I think to this day, still the hardest race of my life, easily. Like mostly just like physically as well, how much pain I was in. Like, well, yeah, from it was like, well, I feel like it was below freezing. It was like 30 degrees.
It was so
like
cold.
-1 or 2 Celsius. Sleeting rain, like 6 inches of mud. And I felt like I was just running with like pulled hamstrings the last like 2K of that race. And yeah, I mean, I think it's character building out there, especially in Terre Haute. That place is miserable. That course is so hard. I think there's only benefits that come from running NCAA cross in terms of if you are going to continue a career on the track. Like NCAA cross will only benefit you from mental toughness on your own, but also the bonds you form with your teammates and kind of the moments you go through in those few months leading up to cross country season is kind of it's so much more condensed than the track season, which is like January to June. Like cross season is so jam packed in like 6 weeks, and somehow you have like that's where you build like the strongest bonds between your teammates. And most of my memories from NAU come from that short window in the cross country season, and still reminisce those to this day. Yeah, it's a pretty special place to do it.
You heard that. You see, folks, this is the world indoor mile champion, and he did it in 10K cross country for his team. What a guy.
Somehow I just got stuck in the 30s 3 years in a row, though. Each year
you were like the exact same. You were like 38th, 39th, 39th or something. Like it was
each year I was progressively much better at running. Like I should have been. I don't know what was happening that I just kept like when I was the first time I was 30 something, that was probably like where I should have been. The next 2 times, I don't know what happened. I should have somehow. I just kept getting stuck in the 30s. But that's right. That's NCAA cross. It's so hard. It's so hard.
It's a hard race.
In the top like 15, you got to just be so good. But yeah, I mean, speaking of pro running, you're actually, you are coaching a professional. If not, I actually don't know how many people out of college you coach. But you started coaching Elise prior to this year, started the year before the Olympics, and that's why we were running into each other in Paris. Was that your first Olympics? Is that first Olympics you've been to?
Technically no. But really yes. I was born in just outside of Atlanta, Georgia, and I lived there till I was 8. And so I was there during the 96 Olympics. I was 5 years old, and so my dad took me to an Olympic baseball game. Baseball's not even in the Olympics anymore, but it was in 1996, and
of course it was.
So it's actually one of my first memories. Early memories. All I remember was we were in the right field bleachers, and we had a home run ball hit really close to us, and my dad was like going to grab for the ball, but he didn't get it. But that's all I remember about it. So my dad, like he was at he saw Michael Johnson break the world record in the 400 and the 200. So like it was, I wish I'd been a little older to really enjoy it, but Paris was in all other respects.
Going back as a coach,
first
that's pretty
Olympics.
special then. how was that experience with Elise?
It was awesome. Yeah, it was really, really special. Like, Elise and I have known each other for a really long time, and I started coaching her in March of this year. And so, yeah, it was fun to kind of dive into this coach athlete relationship as well. And, yeah, it was not smooth sailing. It was a challenging, March, April, May, June, and just some tough things we had to go through, from just working through some body stuff, and it's not like everything was smooth sailing. And so to perform the way she did at the US Championships was really special, not only in the 5K but the 1500 as well. And then to be able to go to the highest stage in our sport as it stands right now was really special. And the cool things that you learn when you're in that setting is like, hey, guess what? The warm-up's the same. The track's still 400 meters. It's the environment changes. That Paris crowd was wild in there. But just as a coach, it was really cool to just like be there and see like, wait a minute, like all the if you can operate the same way and make it about racing and competing at the Olympics as the same as like the low key meets, like the process really should remain the same. And it was cool being at the Olympic Games, but good lesson in not like trying to, not getting overwhelmed by the environment and just trying to be the constant and just competing the best you can. But yeah, Elise is just such a special person and such a special athlete. Like, I'm just privileged and blessed to be able to work with her in this capacity. And it was so fun being there with her. And, and we also just like having you and Abdi Hamid and Luis and Nico, like it was just like, I was really grateful to be out there and, get to experience that with everybody, even though, I know you had a hard one and so did Luis and Abdi Hamid. But like, it was, it was a pretty special time.
Yeah. Yeah. We really did. We went through it. The three. I just chatted to Luis, last week and hearing, what the reality of what his body was going through the week leading up to the Olympics. So yeah, man, it's a tough sport. So Smith's been able to do it, coaching pros and college athletes. And I'm assuming you're going to continue to coach Elise. What's the key to balancing the college pro coaching?
Yeah, it's Elise is the only athlete I coach outside of NAU athletes. And so my observation so far has been, it's been really, really good for me as a coach because it's allowed me to kind of evolve and think about different things. And, when you're working with a professional athlete, it's different in many ways than a college athlete, in that like the biggest difference being Elise is like, hey, I have 24 hours a day and here you can use all of them, like there's nothing else getting in the way. And so it's a fun thing to kind of figure out together, really maximizing all the time that you have. But with that, it takes up a lot of your brain space. Like it does require a lot, and I care so much about it, and the responsibility to me is so big that like it does take this nice chunk of my energy. And so I'm very conscious about if I was to take on anybody else and the cost of it. And because NAU is always going to be my number one priority. And I'm really excited to continue working with Elise. And I think she's going to, do some bigger stints out here in Flagstaff potentially and things like that, where we get to work more in person, because she's been in, home base for her is Boulder. And so I think our situation works really well. I think anything that would come later, I'd have to really work through that in my mind and make sure it kind of fits within the criteria of, the energy that I have. And, but I'll take those things, one at a time. But NAU is the number one priority. And, Elise, I think our situation works really well in that. And that might not be the same case with every single situation. And so, I've just got to work within those parameters. And I've got a lot on my plate and a lot of people to take care of, and so I want to make sure that I'm able to do that really effectively. And so it takes a lot, like my space is definitely mostly going to be the college space.
I mean, that's what blows my mind with college coaching sometimes, is that like and especially someone who's also coaching someone at the Olympics, is that you're going to go from like coaching in the Olympic stadium with like, you know, at the absolute pinnacle of the sport to going to some random meet in Idaho or somewhere, like a small conference meet, and like you're gonna have to frame that like, you know, in a pretty similar way. Like, do you approach those like, do you try and approach those the same? Like, you know, a small college meet where you're like, you know, the stakes are not as high, but still like, you know, the race is important to your athletes in it. And you got to like, do you frame that the same way in your mind?
Totally. Like the concepts are to me the same. Like you're trying to like frame like, hey, let's talk about like how we're competing and the effort that we're given and like staying attached to people and like the decisions that you're making. So all these things within your control. Like that's to me what stays the constant, right? The things that changes are the environments or the people you race or the weather or the courses or whatever it may be, right? Like those you don't have control over. And so I try to focus like less on those things. Like, yes, you have to account for the energy or the things that you can encounter within those environments and learn how to be like, hey, how can I get to the Olympic Games with 80,000 French people screaming at me? Because it was insane. And it was probably an environment most people haven't been a part of. How can you like focus and work on these things so that you can just be, again, the constant in that. And that's a challenging thing to do because the environment just you can't just walk in and ignore the Olympic environment or the importance of that people place on that race. But I think the really elite athletes are able to like really put the blinders on and focus on like, hey, I'm focused on what I'm going to do and what I can control. And those people tend to, I think, race better and have more consistent outcomes. And so, yeah, that's the same if you're at some random, big sky meet in Idaho, which we actually are in Idaho this year. So you got that right. Yeah, and the nice. And the Olympic Games, and so the trick is like, can you be the same even when the environment changes? And those, I think that's why NAU's been such a like hard team to beat, and that doesn't mean we haven't got beat sometimes. But even I think a great example is last year, our men's program in particular, right? We had a great race. We just got beat by another team, and it's like, I don't have any control over that team. And I tipped my cap to them and then shook their hands. I was like, man, you guys were really fantastic. And we had a great race and we really controlled what we could control. And you look at the end of the day and you're like, man, 70 something points. And that got a second place on that day. And I was super proud of that. I was pumped, and so I'm always trying to place the highest value on, what we can control. And, when we do that though, and who we have and the way we train, I think we're really hard to beat and we are going to win things. And, but the ultimate definition of success isn't just like whether we win or not, but it's, I think what we do and how we act, in the process of those races.
That's a pretty good summary right there. I feel like that sums up NCAA cross country in a nutshell. I think in a lot of ways, and that's what we got. That's what we got to look forward to over the next. When's pre-nats?
Pre-nats is October 19th.
Yeah.
So we're traveling.
There's still 6 weeks in the season. What's this weekend? Notre Dame.
Yeah, this weekend we're heading out to Notre Dame. We haven't raced there, at least in my time here, so excited to go out there. And then, 2 weeks from this weekend we'll be at pre-nats, and then the typical conference, regionals, nationals lineup in November. So excited to race some more people this weekend, and that's it's a good field, and that'll be a good stepping stone for us in this regular season.
Sweet. Well, Coach, I think I'm all out of questions. You got anything else to add?
Man, we gotta go. When are we gonna see each other next? We gotta get together, man. I miss hanging out with you.
Couldn't tell you. I'm not coming across this year, unfortunately. I got to get to NCAA cross one of these years. There was a nice big reunion at one of them a couple of years ago. I think it's gonna have to be the track season.
Well, I might, I need to try to get out to Boulder sometime for Elise. So actually, if I ever do that, obviously.
That's what I was thinking. You keep telling me, there's a chance I'm coming to Boulder.
I know. I end up getting busy, but I'm going to try. I really need to. And then, yeah, it'd be fun to hang out with the coffee club guys in person. I do, before we go, I do have to say that one of our athletes, I was telling a couple of them I was coming on here, and you've got some fans on the team.
On the team?
On the team, yeah. Like, so one of our athletes, I told her I'd give her a shout out. Kira Moore says she listens every week, everyone. So she's an Australian athlete on our team, and apparently you got some coffee club fans on the NAU team. And I mean, I told them, hey, you can't listen to everything they say, but
Yeah, well, we talk a lot of rubbish. This was a real podcast. So hopefully, people can see that occasionally we can talk about like reasonably serious stuff. So, it's not all
next
rubbish.
Time. Yeah, next time. Well, you'll have to have me on a rubbish one sometimes with the boys. So like that would be fun. It can't just all be like this serious coach talk all the time.
Yeah, exactly. I know. There's a nice change every once in a while.
Yeah, that can get too boring. You're right. Yeah, for you guys, it's probably like, oh man, this is a different type of podcast. But for me, the fun podcast would be different.
Yeah, it's been great having you on. Always nice to chat. And good luck for the rest of the season. I'm still a big NAU fan, so I haven't watched anything yet. I don't even know how to watch NCAA cross, but hopefully I'll figure it out in the next few weeks.
Good. Yeah, that's what I like to
getting
hear.
older and older.
I'm still a big Jordy Beamish fan, so we got that. We got each other's back here.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Thanks for coming on.
Yep. See ya.